Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. I'm your host, Greg Fitzsimmons, back in my home base, Fitzdog Studios in Venice Beach, California. The summer is closing in on us. If you haven't gotten to the beach, do it. If you haven't gotten a tan, do that. I got on my bucket hat because my dermatologist told me that the tops of my ears are starting to look like old pussy. His words. And so I'm protecting them. Just got back from a little vacation. As you know, if you've been listening, I was in New York the last couple of weeks. Well, I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan this past weekend at the tail end of this trip. And it was fun. Thanks for coming out. We sold out some shows. You know, when you have to understand something. When you guys come out and you tell your friends to come out and we sell the place out, the Fitzdog hits some bonuses. He takes a little extra do-re-mi home to the family, and then the wife gives the Fitzdog access to all he wants because he's got the fat ass stacks. So keep coming out. I got shows this weekend. I'm going to be in Golden, Colorado. That's this weekend. What are the dates? The 26th through the 28th. And then I will be coming to Sacramento September 16 through 18. And by the way, we're just announcing today officially Sunday Papers will be recording a live podcast on Saturday the 18th at 4 p.m. You can come to that, grab some dinner, and then come to the stand-up show afterwards. Make a full day of me, and I will make a full day of you. All tickets at fitzdog.com. But anyway, thanks for coming out. A lot of singles I noticed in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you get that with these podcast followings. Is people that are big comedy fans, and they maybe don't have a lot of friends, or they couldn't get some friends together, and they go, fuck it, give me one. And for some reason, the club always seats them up front. There's always like 4 people that are alone at a table of a two-top alone. And I talk to them because they're always interesting people. And one guy showed up and he had a big oil painting. He made an oil painting of me, which was flattering. And I wasn't sure how he thought you could get a 3-foot wide oil painting into the overhead carry-on on a plane, which is how I travel, with the carry-on. So it was donated. It now hangs on the wall of the green room of the Grand Rapids Dr. Grin's Comedy Club. And I'm not saying he's not a good painter, but let's just say it belongs hanging in a comedy club. But the effort was real, and I appreciate it. People gave me all kinds of stuff. Pot's legal in Michigan. I'm not going to say what people gave me, but there was a lot of giving me that. They were, and it's all Christians. Grand Rapids, everybody warns you, oh, you're going to go to Grand Rapids, be careful. They're all Christian. They may be Christian, but they're dirty motherfuckers. They didn't care what I said. I got nasty, and they went with me. If anybody was fighting back, I didn't see them. I know they all went to church on Sunday and got absolved because their minds were right with mine in the gutter all weekend. Dion Curry opened for me. He was fantastic. And then he sold about 10,000 T-shirts after the show. I got to get in that racket. That's where the money is. T-shirt sales. Before that, I was in upstate New York, Hamilton, New York, where my dear friend Matt Malloy, who's a great actor. Check out his IMDb page. He's been a working actor for about 30 years. He's done a million fucking things. And he's a dear friend, and he knows how to host. He's got this house upstate where he grew up in the town. It's where Colgate College is, and he grew up in this town. And he has kept a house there, or 2 houses there. And so when people come to visit, he puts them up in this house that he rents to the college students during the year, and then in the summer, it's empty. So he just hosts people. People all show up, and he doesn't have to sweat them being in his own house. He sends them down to the student house, which is, it's a little rundown, but it's nice. It's very nice. It's student housing. And I was there with my mother and my sister, my niece and nephew, my wife and kids. We're all in this house. And we just had so much goddamn fun. every time we go to New York, we round out the trip by driving, and it's a good 4-hour drive upstate. But you get up there, and he's on a lake, and I don't know if you saw my Instagram post, but he's got a rope swing that goes about 50 feet above the lake. There's a giant limb that hangs out over the lake, and then he built like a lifeguard chair that you stand on, and you go swooping down, and then somebody whips a football at you, and you try to catch it before you land in the water. And I probably my third try. I caught a nice one from Matt. You can see that on Instagram. People didn't believe it was me, but that's me. Getting a fucking nose full of water on the way down. And then he's got a pizza oven. He built an outdoor pizza oven, wood burning, and he makes the most fucking beautiful pizzas. And then he's got a canoe, and he's got a stand-up paddle board. I took that out, went canoeing with the wife at sunset. He's got a ping pong table, a bocce court, an outdoor shower. What else? A hot tub. A giant, like, bar-sized shuffleboard. He's just the captain of fun. Everything that's fun is at the Malloy compound. And we just had such a blast. And it's just nice to see her with her all of her grandkids. And they all kind of look like her. Well, I look a lot like my mother. Although, you know who really looks like their mother? Caitlyn Jenner. So much like her mother. Didn't always. My niece and nephew and my daughter taught my mother a bunch of rap songs. She got a tutorial on the history of rap music, and they were cranking the music and dancing. And my mother was so sweet. She was so into it. And even when they're like, some of the lyrics were like, you know, my neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. And my mom's just like, that's nice. She's putting up with a lot. I caught her listening to my podcast. I told her not to, because I'm always worried about what I'm going to say. And I caught her listening to me interviewing Ms. Pat. She didn't know how to turn off her phone, so it was playing in the kitchen, and it was Miss Pat talking about her daughter eating pussy, because her daughter's a lesbian. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh. So my mom is just used to it in her old age. She's gotten to put up with it all. Owen leaves for school tomorrow. I'm very sad. I'll miss him, but he's got to go back to Chicago, get his education going, maybe meet a girl, have a little dating experience, which I don't think he's had a lot of during COVID. So let's wish him some luck. If you're a beautiful young woman in Chicago, look him up. He'll take you out for a deep dish pizza. And then my neck, my back. Anyway, listen to Tim Dillon today. I had never heard his podcast. I always liked his stand-up, and I like him as a person, but I'd never listened to his podcast. And man, he's good. He is a very solid broadcaster. He's just got a great voice. He's very clear. He's got interesting opinions. He's funny. So I don't need to recommend his podcast to you guys, because he's probably got a fucking boatload more listeners than I do. But kudos to young Tim Dillon. I somehow got onto Reddit. I go way out of my way to never go on Reddit, because that just seems like a place where people really vent some really toxic shit. And I was so bored today that I went, you know what? Let me see what they were saying when I was on Rogan a couple weeks ago. And I shouldn't have, but I did. And you know what? All positive. It was all positive. So thank you, trolls, for laying off me. I don't know why I looked. It's like fucking smelling your own fart. Not your own fart. My own fart I enjoy. It's like smelling someone else's fart. Or it's like walking into the men's room and sniffing before you take your own shit. It's like, I don't know, looking at a car wreck that will be stuck in your head forever. Going to Reddit is, but people they're mean to Joe. I'll tell you that. His listeners are fucking. They say horrible things about him. So I don't I hope he doesn't read it. Not that he cares. Fuck does he care? Got some mail this week. This came from Kelly O'Neill. Greg, I'm a 41-year-old farmer, and I haven't worn deodorant since I was 16 as well. I mentioned that I don't wear deodorant and never have. He said, people can't believe it. I sweat all day, and my wife is baffled by my lack of body odor. Glad I have a brother in body smell. You're great, by the way. Well, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, Kelly O'Neill. Maybe it's an Irish thing. Maybe Irish people don't emit body odors, so we can hide from the British, so we could fucking keep from getting slaughtered by the British. So I guess the British, they had to train the dogs to the scent of whiskey and holy water. That's the only way they could root us out. Turnips and shame. Can you sniff shame? Can a dog sniff shame? Because then you can find the Irish. Yeah, I saw my friend Alex on a walk. He's British. And I think I mentioned once, he said to me, I love your podcast, but man, you hate the British. And I said, well, I don't hate them as people. Like Daniel Sloss, who's on today, I like quite a bit. I like a lot of British people. John Oliver, I'm friends with. Love John. And my friend Alex. But your culture is reprehensible. Your history is deplorable. And who knows what the future holds with Brexit? I don't know. And then I get confused about Britain versus England versus the United Kingdom. Whatever you guys are, you know, the ones that try to sound smarter than us because they are. Got some nicknames coming in. This was from Clint Byers. He said, upon meeting my friend Josh, we noticed his thick Michigan accent. And as lazily as possible, we started calling him Michigan. Later on, a girl that I warned him not to fuck because she was lousy with chlamydia. That should be a bumper sticker. Lousy with chlamydia. Gave him, ready for this? Chlamydia. His nickname evolved to Chlamychigan. It's a fun one that we make him explain when the need arises. Yeah. That's brave. That's a brave man to be warned about a girl who has chlamydia and then still go into the fucking, like firefighters on 9/11, still going into the building. You know you're going to get hurt. You could lose your life. But you know what? I have a calling to get up in that pussy. Chlamychigan. She call him Beast again. I mean, you can only imagine she must have been hot. Well, she's probably about 103 degrees at the peak of the virus. But that's what it is if I think men will forego anything, even chlamydia, if a girl is hot enough. Like Pam Anderson, how many guys do you think would have sex with Pam Anderson knowing she has Hep C? Probably high 90s. High 90% of men would have sex with Pam Anderson at her age today with the Hep C, without a condom. Yes, they would, because that's who we are. We're fucking animals. This one comes from Shaylin Cochran. A lot of Irish people writing in. Quick nickname story. In high school, working at a grocery store, we called one of the early morning bread delivery guys Jimbo, because he was bitchy and old. Is that an insult? Is changing Jim to Jimbo I don't know. Cut to some time later, I'm trying to hustle people along so we can punch out and get on with the day. And Shabo was born. Her name is Shaylin, and now she's Shabo. Almost 20 years later, and thankfully the nickname hasn't followed me to Alaska. Why not? Is it bad? What's with the bow? I don't think that's so insulting. But I still get it when I'm home, and that's cool. No one who still calls me that knows where it came from. Well, until now, Shabo. I don't know how many Alaskans are listening to Fitzdog Radio, but Shaylin Cochran, her real name is Shabo. It's almost like when you go to Alaska, it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and what happened before Alaska stays out of Alaska. I think you go there with a clean slate. Nobody asks you what happened to you before, what your nickname was, if you're divorced, if you're a felon. You go to Alaska, you're just an Alaskan. You're another Alaskan. You're fucking whipping dogs, you're making an igloo, and you're having sex with one of Sarah Palin's kids. Shabo. I like Shabo. This is from a guy named Luke. This one's a little racy, so if you're squeamish, I'd skip over this one. My name is Luke. He gave his last name, and you'll see why I don't say it out of consideration to his future. When I was 22, I worked a summer job at Embassy Suites, and my nickname between only the male co-workers was Red Box. One night in Myrtle Beach, I got completely blacked out and took a good-looking lady home. We hooked up on the dance floor, in the Uber ride home, in the kitchen, and eventually in my bed. We had sex. I ate her, quote, box, and I passed out. Woke up to find the girl had gone home, and I'm thinking, great, let me take a piss. Turn on the lights, and bam! The horror began. Blood on my hands, all over my face. It looked like a crime scene. I had indeed eaten at a girl and banged when she had gotten her period. I told my manager at work the next day. Why? Because he asked me why I looked so distraught and out of it at work. He immediately laughed his ass off, told both of the male bartenders who called me Red Box that day and the rest of the time I worked there. Red Box. When I was that age, they called me Blue Balls. We could have been like a crime-fighting team. Well, what can I tell you, Luke? You should have been a little suspicious that a good-looking woman was so horny. You know, the period puts them in heat. It makes them crazed. They present. She was probably backing that ass up towards you on the dance floor, presenting. So when that happens, little tip in the future, keep the lights on so you can watch out. Watch out for that blood. And plus, it's better, you know, the high def on your camera is going to work better with the good lighting. You fucking perv. And your hidden camera. All right, listen, this is not a great segue into this next product because this is a company I feel very strongly about. If you have been listening to the podcast, you know it's a sponsor I use, BetterHelp.com. If you're struggling, and we all struggle, God knows, sometimes it goes on for days, sometimes it goes on for years. Get yourself some help. Whatever money you have, BetterHelp will make it work. They have financial plans available, but the baseline for it is very affordable. Much cheaper than in-person counseling, but BetterHelp offers it online. They get back to you in like 40. You fill out a questionnaire on their website. Within 48 hours, they've got somebody who is custom made for you based on what you said in the questionnaire. They have therapists that focus on whether it's ADD or depression or anxiety or grief or, you know, whatever it is. They've got such a plethora of counselors available that you will be matched up with somebody who's great, and if it doesn't work out, you go to them and you say, hey, I want to try somebody else. Boom, free, change to the next person. It's worldwide. It's helped me. I've been working with somebody from BetterHelp for like the last 6 months, and she's amazing. Her name is Sarah, and she's helped me with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is very effective for depression, which I suffer from. So I can't tell you enough times to get involved with BetterHelp. I have to read this exactly because it's FTC. Our podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/Fitzdog. So visit betterhelp.com/Fitzdog and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced BetterHelp professional. Do it. You deserve it. You do. Okay, let's get to my guest who probably needs psychiatric help because he's been doing stand-up comedy since he was about fucking 15 years old. He is in the middle of a tour. No, he's kicking off a tour coming up. The tickets have just gone on sale, and we'll talk about the dates when he's on. But he did a 28-city tour. It's 28 cities. He did a tour for his last. He came on the podcast a couple years ago when he did his last tour, which he then puts out as specials. He's had 3 specials, 1 on HBO, 2 on Netflix. He's been on Conan a million times, Ferguson, Drunk History. But he's a British act who has got worldwide following. He went to whatever. We'll talk about all of it. But he's really something special. I know you're going to enjoy him. Here's my chat with the great Daniel Sloss. All right, from across the pond, my next guest joins me from an all-white room. It looks like the Milk Bar from Clockwork Orange. Daniel Sloss, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm having fun down here at the dairy, just milking things. It keeps the cows calm in this area.
Well, you know, milking things alone in a room is not foreign to me. Are you...
Hey, man, it was the first 7 years of my material and still half of my material now.
You know, it's funny. There's a show called The Chair that's on Netflix right now that's pretty big. And
not seen it.
It's just come out, and it's a very smart, heady drama about this college campus and about wokeness and a guy being canceled. But and there's a lot of smart jokes and all that, but there's an old professor and he farts sometimes, and it's the only thing I laugh out loud at. That'll never go away.
Oh man, it's very, very depressing to know that no matter how long we spend writing a joke or crafting a joke, perfecting it on the road over years and years and years, it's just not as funny as farts, and it's just not as funny as people falling over. Yep. Like, there's just some things that are timeless and, you know, across all borders.
Yeah, I think that's a funny thing about being a comic like you and I, who are very, very intellectual, smart, above average comedians.
Yeah,
is
I
that
agree.
you do work really hard, and then sometimes you see somebody go on ahead of you, and the audience, like, because, you know, I know in London they have showcase rooms like they have here in LA. I don't know what it's like in Edinburgh, but
yeah, same.
It is. It's good. So you go on after another comic, and sometimes some piece of shit hack will go up and destroy the room, and then you hate the audience. You're like, fuck you guys. Yeah. You don't deserve me. I don't even want your approval now.
Yeah, you are too basic. I'm too smart for you motherfuckers.
Yeah, right. I think I used to be smarter than I am now. Do you think that you're evolving at all?
Don't think I don't think I've gotten dumber. I think I've got smart enough to realize how stupid I was before. Like before I was so fucking dumb that I thought I was a genius. I'm like, oh man, I'm the first person to think this thing. I'm a forward thinker. I'm a genius, me. And then you grow up and you read a bit more and you're like, oh, I was the last to that conclusion. It's just people tend to not brag when they learn the things I suddenly learned. That's just innate to them.
That is interesting. There is something beautiful about the naivete of thinking that you're brilliant when you're young. There's an energy that comes from that, and occasionally you do stumble on something that, I mean, what do they say? Good artists create, great artists steal. Is that the quote?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's good to sort of, you know, when you're young, because I remember not being nervous that much before I went on stage when I was younger, and it wasn't because I was confident, it's because I was too stupid to be scared. Like there was no rational part of my brain that was like, hey, this could go badly, you might be terrible at this is an unnatural thing to do. I'm 18 and I'm like, well, why would I not be instantly good at something? That's how the world works, and I'll be fine. And thank God now it's only sometimes I'm on stage now, I'll look at the audience and I'm like, oh man, this is quite intimidating now that I, you know, really think about it. But thankfully I've got all the years under my belt. But yeah, 4 years of just being a dumbass. Like, why would I not be great at everything I do? And then
well, wait till you get a little bit older, because you're only what, 30?
30, aye.
I'm 55. Wait till you get erectile dysfunction for the first time. That's when you really think, like, I never even thought about losing an erection. And now that I've thought about it, I have a feeling this is going to happen a lot.
I did it before. There was times when I was begging my erection to go away. Basically begging it. My station was coming up. I had to get up in front of the class to do something.
Right.
I'm trying my hardest. Now there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Aye.
But it is weird because you started so young that I wonder if there's a part of you that is looking forward to outgrowing being seen as an enigma and, like, you know, just being seen as a great comic, which you are, as opposed to a young ingenue.
Well, it was for years and years and years. And when I was much younger, it annoyed me because I was like, my whole thing was, I'm not a young comic. I'm a comic that's young. Like, I've been doing it for long enough that I want, you know, I did everything the same way. I came up through the circuit. I wrote my jokes. I did the French. I did the fucking grind. You know, I did the road. Whereas, I mean, now I'm just at the age, I don't know how it is for you, but, like, there's a time period for material I have, which I just, if it's over 5 years ago that I wrote the joke, I fucking hate it now. Yeah. Like, now I don't know if that's something that you get rid of as you, like, get older and you can, like, see yourself. You're like, oh, I was young then. Like, I can appreciate that the joke was funny to me then and whatever. But now I just watch my old shit and I'm like, that's garbage. And it makes me, I'm the comedian that I hate that audience forever laughing at my jokes. Yeah. Because I'm like, you laughed at that? Like, I sold you that shit and you gave it a round of applause. God, my fans are stupid.
Right. Well, I think it's a little bit like going to a school reunion when you look at your old jokes, and most of them you look at and you go, man, I can't believe I hung out with you. And then once in a while you see one and you go, hey, we should hang out more. And all of a sudden you're doing that bit again. You're like, I can't believe I'm doing a bit that I did fucking started with.
But I like that, man. I love going back to a joke from years and years ago, and just because, like, at the time, the reason you stop doing the joke is because you just can't make it work. But the comic in your brain, the intrinsic comic going, this is funny. Right. Now, I know the idea's funny, I just can't pitch it in the right way. I can't frame it, I can't phrase it, I can't get the fucking angle. And you just get so annoyed because you know it's funny, but you just don't have the skills to get an audience to laugh at it. And it's nice to come back 10 years later. It's not like the high school reunion. It's like banging the hot girl from high school who wouldn't bang you in high school.
Because you didn't have the moves. You didn't have it.
But then afterwards, you're like 30, you're doing better, you're not a dweeb anymore, all your spots are gone. She's seen you on Conan once, and she's like, oh.
Maybe she's put on a few pounds, right?
It's fine. It's all gravy up here.
I just found out that I just had dinner with a friend from high school, and I found out the girl that was the most smoking hot girl in our class, like untouchable, put on like a solid 15, 20 pounds. I don't know what the conversion is to kilos, but enough to make it where you would have a shot, and that was more of a turn on to think that she was the same weight that she used to be. And not to objectify women, because I don't want to sound like that, but like Pamela Anderson has hepatitis C or B or one of those things.
Does she?
Yes, which means you could probably have sex with her now if you wanted to. Could you catch it? Yes, you could. Yeah. Would you still do it?
Because at that point, you know, you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for younger you.
Yes.
You're doing it because if 25-year-old knew you had the chance to do this, he would beat the shit out of 55-year-old you for not doing it. He would kick your head in. Like, he's back there building a time machine right now to come forward and beat you the fuck up. You didn't bang back. I don't care how old she was. I don't care what letter of hepatitis she had. It's Pamela Anderson. And we loved her.
And you're 55. You don't have that much time left, so you'll have hep C. Fine.
And then you've just got to explain to your younger self what erectile dysfunction is, and he's like, no, come on, surely I can't get this thing to go away.
And what happens? You call him and he just doesn't come to the phone? Oh, man. So, and you're speaking of beautiful women, you are about to get married from what I'm reading on the internet.
Well, yeah, not about to. We're not getting married until 2023, just because like we wanted this to all thoroughly be fucking over. Like no social distancing, no. Also, we've got international. Like I've got lots of international friends, and I want them to be able to come over and see what a Scottish wedding is actually like, because it's the best of the weddings.
Oh yeah, I saw a great movie about a Scottish wedding, and I forget what it was called. It wasn't that long ago. So what are some of the traditions that they have? Well,
there's the standard stereotypical ones, which is obviously the groom wears a kilt.
Right.
And you don't wear any underwear underneath the kilt. That's how you tell a true Scotsman from a Englishman in a kilt, is whether they're wearing anything underneath.
Right.
I've been to weddings where the groom has been wearing underwear and he's been chased down by the groomsman and had his boxers ripped off. I also had one. There's a brilliant comedian over in Ireland called Andrew Maxwell, and I was at his wedding, and his wife is it's not Egyptian, I've got this fucking wrong. Her name's Soraya. Me and her have gone on for years and years and years, but her dad is like old school Middle Eastern, and he's come over to the UK for the wedding, and he's never seen a Scottish man in a kilt before. He has no idea why there is just this young white bloke who's whiskey drunk in a skirt, and I'm wearing underwear at this time because there's so many kids at this wedding that I'm just like, I'm not going to risk flashing a child at an Irish wedding. Like, I'll have my boxers on. And my friend's wife, she's winding me up because she knows how patriotic I can be when I'm whiskey drunk. She's like, "You're wearing underwear there. You're not a true Scotsman. You're not a true Scotsman." And she keeps winding me up to the point where at the table I would take them off, I ball them up, and I throw them across the table at the bride, because that's the banter that we have. And I turn over and her dad is fucking seething. Like, I don't know what I've done, like in his culture, but it's like the worst thing. He can't fathom like the disparate. Like, I've come across sexist to him, and that's amazing. Like, that is not what you'd expect. I grew up in the UK. He's so angry. She's laughing because she knows there's no forgiving. I'm just absolutely fucking mortified.
I love that you think that it's cultural, that throwing underwear at a bride would somehow be offensive.
It's absolutely not offensive in Scotland. Yeah. Like, that's how I proposed.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And if you like her, you make it clean underwear. That's the deal. So the kilt's a big thing. We also have a thing called Ceilidh dancing. So it's just like, it's Scottish.
Sure, I know Ceilidh dancing.
Yeah, so it's Scottish country dancing, and every single Scottish person knows Scottish country dancing because PE, like physical education in high school, is compulsory twice a week, right? And you'd get to play like football, soccer, like basketball, running, whatever thing they decide to make you do. But once a year, maybe 4 or 5 times a year before Christmas, they would get the entire school together to practice Scottish country dancing, and it was the worst thing in the world because, like, if you're an active kid, like, and you're not a nerd, like, PE is fun. Like, you don't have to do much in it. It's better than maths. It's better than fucking science. It's just, you're outside, you're fucking around with friends. It's great. Yeah. And then, like, you turn up to the school and nobody else has their gym kit, and you're like, why am I the only one here with my gym kit? And you realise that you've just got to go down to the big school hall, and they stand the girls on one side and they stand the boys on the other, and they go, pick a partner. And when you're like, oh no, there's no doing it. You're 14, 15.
Yeah.
Like, the social consequences of... Like, can you imagine being the psycho that just runs straight up to somebody of the opposite sex when you're 15? Like...
And also, you find out where you stand in the pecking order of the pack. You think you're with Margaret, but no, you're with Emily.
Yeah. And and why? It's like, because you only make the mistake once, because people often go, well, why don't you just not pick someone, then you don't have to dance? It's like, motherfucker, Scottish country dancing is compulsory in Scotland, so that means you have to dance with the teacher, and there's no greater social death than dancing with the physics teacher. And she's just going, you're doing it wrong, left, right, left, You're like, come on.
And this is And this is all done without your arms, right? Isn't Kaylee dancing? Your arms are kind of like at your sides.
That's Irish dancing. Scottish country. It's just you're flinging the woman around, basically.
Okay.
You're spinning them a lot. They're spinning you. You change partners. You change partners a lot. So there's some dances, and this was a good thing because, like, see if you ended up like one day, you'd have the courage, right? You go, I'm going to go to the girl I fancy, right? For me, it was Laura. I'll never forget her. I'm going to do it. Today's the day. We've done like 6 of these. I sometimes speak to her in my class. Like, it's fine. We're friends. She'll say yes. You're allowed to dance with friends. I don't do it too quickly. I don't do it too slowly. I go up to her and we're dancing together. And the first dance we do is one where you change partners and you're just like, motherfucker, no! I had all that courage for nothing. She goes away, you see her going around, she comes round once, she goes again, and then they stop the song and you're left with whoever this cunt is. And you're like, you're not the one I wanted, this is horrendous.
That's fucking great. Yeah, we have, we call that, we used to have to do that too.
Really? What kind of dancing?
It was very similar. They called it do-si-do. You'd lock arms and you'd swing around, and then and then you'd switch off. And what the fuck did we call that? But we also had school dances where.
Yeah, this is what it built up to. Yeah.
Yeah, like so. The school dance was there was fast songs, and those were for the black kids. You know, they would play disco, and the black kids would get out. And they would fucking tear it up. And then the slow songs would come on, and the perverted white guys would all go over to the girls, and they'd ask them to slow dance.
Yeah.
And you wanted a nice long one, and the longest one was Stairway to Heaven. But the problem with Stairway to Heaven was you'd get over there, and you'd ask a girl out, and then you'd get in the middle of the floor. And I mean, this wasn't like one arm straight, little bit of space. This was you literally put your arms. It was like date rape in slow motion. You put your arms completely around her, and she put hers around you, and she put her face in your. It was very intimate for kids that were 14 years old.
And you're wondering, like, what part? Like, too low is obviously the ass, and none of us have the courage for that.
Yeah.
Too high is the bra, and like I've got no idea how that works yet.
Right.
So then you've just got the small of the back, the sweatiest part of any nervous person. And you're just like, this is it.
And the sweat is building up between you because you're both nervous. The gym is hot, and you're dancing Stairway to Heaven, and then all of a sudden, the drums kick in, and as we walk on down the road, and everybody just scatters like cockroaches when the lights come on. The song is over. The white kids do not dance to fast music.
No.
Did you have black kids in your school?
In Scotland, no.
None.
Like we have like not like African American black, but we have like our main form of immigration is from Middle Eastern countries mainly.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of our second generation Scottish ones they're brown. But
and what's
not lots. Like the non-white population of Scotland is like 5%. It's something horrendously low. Yeah,
and so is that weird for you then when you start becoming a little bit more international and going other places? And what was it like interacting with black people for the first time?
Oh, great! Like, well, I mean, I've been traveled a lot since I was young. I've got cousins that are American, so I was over in Maine every summer.
Oh, that's where we keep all our black people.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's some there, you know.
Yeah, right.
So I always got like excited. I had like that. It's not reverse racism, but it's like I always just had this internal bias that they were just instantly and instinctively cool because in pop culture that's all they were. Like every single black character on television was like the cool trendy. I'm like that must be it. Like that didn't come from nowhere.
Right.
So I think maybe the first time I met a couple of black people, they were actually really boring, and I just gave them a lot of credit. I was just like, yeah, man, that is so cool, really interesting.
That is funny when when there's positive racism and you're not even allowed to indulge yourself in that. Like, can you say black people are cooler? Or is that you can't say,
but it's a stereotype, and we don't like stereotyping.
Right.
The other one is like one of the reasons I like multiculturalism so much, and this is not a great reason, but of a positive thing. When people don't have the accent that you expect them to have because of the automatic biases you make in your brain, it's hysterical. It's like seeing a dog say meow or bar, whatever. Like, it's just there's a black Scottish guy I follow on Twitter, and he's got a thicker Glasgow accent than me, and of course he does, right? His grandparents moved here 100 years ago. They had their kids. He's second generation. There's no reason. But my damn it, because every time I hear this accent, it comes out of somebody as pasty as fucking I do.
Yeah,
and you just go, oh my god, this is exciting.
Right. Yeah, there's a woman named Aquafina who's an Asian chick from Queens who's got her own show. And
she's great,
Yeah, she's great. But it is funny when you hear a thick Queens accent coming from an Asian person, but not if you live in Queens, where you realize that like half the people there are Asian.
Yeah.
But not a lot of them pick up on the Queens accent as much.
All right. The big difference between here and America is just like, even conversations like this terrify me, because man, we've never we don't talk about it's not as I've got a joke now where I talk about, like, the first time I went to America and I was in a comedy club, like it literally blew my fucking mind that everyone on the show did jokes about race, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. They were just all talking about each other's race, and they were all just making fun of each other people's race. They were like, Asian people drive like this, and black people do this, and white people do this, and I'm like, oh my fucking, like, you can't be saying any of this. Like, and I'm a comedian, I'm like, you could say anything, but it was a huge culture shock to me, because people just don't do that here, and not for any good reasons, but just because we're scared to, because... Well,
we're starting to get scared to here. It's changing. What you can say, and I think you're seeing a lot of people podcasts are scary because you let your guard down. It's casual, you're having fun, it feels like you're talking to a friend, and all of a sudden you start saying stuff that can be pulled out later out of context. Like you look at the guy from he was supposed to take over as the host of Jeopardy. I don't know if you read about that, but
no,
he's the executive producer of Jeopardy, and he got the job. Like, he's going to replace Alex Trebek on Jeopardy. And then somebody pulled out a quote from a podcast he did 8 years earlier where he said, something so innocuous. Oh, he said he asked his co-host on the podcast if she ever took booby pics.
Oh, my God.
That's it. And he was taken out of the job. So, the idea of cancel culture now is getting to where people are rethinking what you can and can't say, and it's changing by the day. It's happening so fast.
But I also think that's like, do you not think that makes our job a little bit easier? Like, our job is to push the boundaries and go over the line and gracefully dance over it, and then sometimes go too far over it and then gaslight the audience into thinking that we've done nothing wrong. Like, and I think when you do have heightened senses of, you can't say this, you can't say that, when you do start saying stuff, if you've got an audience and you're in a good comedy club, like the people that similarly think that they understand a joke as a joke. Yeah. And, they love the fact that you do. I think there'll always be a market for it. Also, man, whenever I just think, like, if as a comedian, if you ever get cancelled, I know you'll get the occasional fucking death threat, but it's a lot of free publicity. Yeah. Like, nobody's Googling your name more than when you've said something, because a lot of people, you've got the people who are instantly going to be like, that was offensive, they're going to jump on the fucking mob, and they're going to be like, fuck this guy. And then I think you get other people, and this is the average person, and the average person can actually make a decision for themselves, and an informed decision for themselves. So they go in, they find the podcast, they listen to it, or they do their own research, and they make their own opinions. The only reason we don't know about these people is because they don't talk about it online. They're not the fucking crazy people that have to shout and scream and be loud in order to get their way. So I think sometimes I feel like cancel culture is misrepresented on both sides, because, one left-wing person will say something ridiculous, like I should be allowed to identify as 7 chicken nuggets, and then a right-wing organisation media goes, look at this is what the lefties want, and they get all angry about that, and then we get angry at their reaction. You're like, man, none of this happened. Like, we're all angry at nothing. None of this is real. It's full fucking anger.
Yeah, it's a sport. It's just and it's become something that is, I think young people are encouraged, especially on college campuses, to look at what do they call it? Race identity? No, race, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's how uninformed I am about it. So that they are looking at things, they're trying to deconstruct like why society is the way it is, which is great. It's absolutely what needs to happen. But it's not a homework assignment. It's something, it's not something you're supposed to go out into life and start to, impress these ideas onto people by hurting them. It's supposed to be a way of kicking up conversation, dialogue, understanding.
And understanding. And also, mate, it's so important to, look back on things in the past and realize that, their society's changed so much that this is kind of wrong now. Back in the past we used to laugh at this, but on further inspection we probably shouldn't have been laughing at this as much as we should have. Now we've realized it's kind of a dodgy thing to laugh at, and we've all learned this now, and it's slow to phase out, and it's not phasing out fast enough for some people, and that's a fair argument. It's phasing out too fast for others, but we're moving on as a society. But I fucking hate this retrospective cancelling, where it's like, you said this 8 years ago. You're like, man, I said a lot of shit 8 years ago. I said a lot of shit I fundamentally disagree with. Do you know why? Because not only was I a different person back then mentally, physically I was an entirely different person. Like, all of our cells in our bodies change every 7 years. So like,
that wasn't me.
It literally wasn't me. Different bloke, different ideas, none of it the same. None of it. The only similarity, that cunt's got the same car as me. That's it. It's the only thing we have in common, and a couple of shoes. You can't do it. I'm a different guy now.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, just the words that you can, like, even when you talk about black people, and I can say black people now, I couldn't say black people a little while ago. It was African American, and black had been put aside, and now black is back. But obviously Negro and colored, which was the United Negro College Fund, which is a major charity, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which was a major charity. You can't say either one of those words now. But like you said, what if this videotape of me 15 years ago saying one of those words, and now you're going to throw that in my face? It's so much of it is like, to cancel someone from something so far into the past, it's to deny the fact that we're all capable of growth and change. Like, I think what often the problem with cancel culture is, and where it comes from, is, man, if you can offend somebody without ever being in the room with them or them ever knowing your name, which you can do as a comedian, it fucking riles people up. Like, the fact that you and I can have a conversation and say something here, and somebody's just driving their own car that they pay for on their way home from their shitty fucking work, and I say something that offends them, that's maddening to them, right? And I've had such control over their feelings. I've triggered something in their head. They're having a bad day. It all piles up. Rage. Or I'm on stage, I do a joke about dyslexia. Some cunt in the room's mum's dyslexic, and it means she didn't read a stop sign right and she died in a car crash or whatever fucking happened. People get, wound up by all this stuff. You've had She's like,
this.
Pots? Why does it say pots?
I don't have any pot. Boom! Dead. Police car as well. Horrible, tragic accident. So the ambulance saved the police guys first. They could have saved them, but by the time they came back. What these people actually want is, they felt powerless because in a moment you did something that upset them so greatly that they felt fear or anger, and those two emotions are combined together, and they want the same from you. They don't want you to actually be sorry. Because what if you do say something offensive like 8 years ago, I should be allowed to say, hey, I said this 8 years ago when I was a different person. Like, it's come to my attention that I said this. I obviously don't agree with this anymore because it's wrong. Here are the reasons why it's wrong. This is how I learned that. And I understand that it upset people. It was never my intention, but I've changed as a human being. That statement doesn't involve the word sorry, but it's everything that you should want to hear if you're a rational person, and that's actually the case. That's the best response you can give. But people don't want that. They want you to bend the knee and they want you to say sorry because it's revenge. They want to have power over you for the power that you had over them, and that's why I'll apologise without ever saying sorry. It's a petulant fucking thing, but it's my own victory.
Well, it's funny because this show, The Chair, that I was talking about is about this college professor, and he's talking about the Nazis. And he's kind of a free and loose professor. He's young and he's funny. And in a quick gesture, he gives the Nazi salute, and then Hitler came along and he did that. And some kids were videotaping the lecture and they posted it, and it became an uproar on campus. People were outraged, and all they wanted, like you said, they just wanted him to say I'm sorry, and he wouldn't do it. He just said, "Look, I'm not gonna be told what to do by." And so it's all about, and it actually is the same as, there's a great book by, Philip Roth.
Yes.
He's got a book called The Human Stain, and it's and it was written back in the 50s or 60s. And it's about a college professor who, I won't go into the whole story, but it's the exact same thing. He says one thing and he won't apologize. And that is a funny thing, to have to bend the knee, to have to say, I'm sorry. Does that indicate change as much as what you described, which is, hey, I now understand more than I did then?
Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll endeavour to spread that message. I'll now correct people, and not in an aggressive way. I'm not going to correct people from a high horse of you shouldn't say that, actually you should do this instead. You go, hey man, I thought that too, here's what I fucking learned. The way you're meant to communicate with each other through empathy and learning and understanding that everyone else on this planet hasn't had the same life experience as you have. So to assume they've arrived at the same conclusions is a level of narcissism that even I'm jealous of.
Yeah, so that's weird because having watched you, and I think I saw one of your last shows that you did before quarantine at Largo. You did a show and I came down to, and you talked a lot about cursing and the way Americans curse versus the way other English-speaking people curse.
Yeah.
And it's true, it doesn't always translate, because I know British comics, not all British, I can't speak for all British comics, but guys like you, Ricky Gervais, you guys like to be right on the line. You like to, as you said, dance over it and come back again. And so how difficult is that for you when you're doing this you're about to do this crazy tour? I know you're doing the States, you're doing 30-something shows in the States.
Yeah. And
you just finished playing in Australia for a month. So how much do you have to sort of educate yourself on cultural norms before you go on stage and try to find that line?
I don't do much research on it. I just find out live. It's the best way to do it. Thankfully, with a lot of the time in these places, people have seen at least a little bit of my comedy, so they know I'm going to swear a lot. Because I just swear a lot, and they know I'm the type of comedy I do. But sometimes you get caught off guard. My last show that I toured was the last 30 minutes. I was speaking about rape and sexual assault, and that was always the tense moment of the show, but still funny. But obviously you're talking about an air quotes taboo subject there, and so that would be the bit where 90% of audience would go ugh. But before that bit, I had a 15-minute routine on sex education, right? Because we've got sex education. We get it from the age of 10 in Scotland. It's free, it's compulsory. You get it in school, it's a random thing that happened. And I do that joke around America, and you guys have got sex education. It's not as good or as thorough, but it's there. It exists. You go to Canada, they laugh at the joke. You go to Australia, they laugh at the joke, and it's fine. And then you get to the rape stuff, and that's what they get sensitive about. When I'm in fucking Slovakia, or Slovenia or Estonia or any like Eastern European, Poland, for the love of God, and you do jokes about sex education, that's the controversial bit.
Oh,
they're
no
like, oh
kidding.
my God, because there's no sex education there. It's alien. Like I go, what age do you get sex education? And they laugh. Like a room full of people go, we don't get sex education. This is Poland. This is the most Catholic fucking country in the UK, well, in Europe, apart from fucking Ireland. Like this is 95%. It's different, man. It catches me off guard sometimes, you know.
Yeah, right. Do you find that they get offended by that, or they're just confused by it?
No, the people on the street of Poland absolutely probably would be offended by the things I said, but not the people who come in to see me or go to see any comedy show. Most people do know what they're going to see and what to expect, and they find it funny because like I'm shocked because they're wrong, right? Like they are objectively wrong. Sex education is crucial. Everyone should have it. It is fundamental to a progressive and healthy society. Like anything that, if you want less teenage pregnancies, if you want less poverty and all this stuff, that can be solved by good, thorough, decent sex education. But they don't think that. They're like, no, God says it's gross. That would be fucking So yeah, I mean, it's...
they outlawed homosexuality in Poland. It's literally illegal to be gay, which I really wonder if that prevents homosexuality or causes it. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to suck that guy's dick just because you told me I can't.
I've been to Poland several times. There's the exact same amount of gays there as there are in every other country. They're just stealthier. They're just smarter about it. And also, because you've made them hide it, it means their sex dungeons are way kinkier.
Yeah.
Like they're doing it in literal graveyards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's only glory holes. They've never seen each other. It's all glory hole sex.
But that's another bit there. Like, I mean, you know, America has legalized gay marriage. The UK's had legal gay marriage for about 8 to 10 years now. It's normal for us to, like, talking about gay people isn't a controversial subject. I went to Russia, and Russia's got this thing where the government looks through your set before you go there.
Really?
They just want to, yeah. Like we had to send it through and clear it all. Well, not clear. Like they were just looking that I wasn't saying Putin's a piece of shit, and you know, fucking death to the east or whatever. But I was worried because I had some like promosexual stuff in there. I was just talking, it wasn't like, oh, we should legalize gay marriage, but I'm just talking about my friends that are gay, and it's just it's normalized. So because obviously homosexuality is very normal, but to them, I'm like I could feel doing it there. People were just like, I can't believe, and my audience is liberal. Like I've got a room full of liberal people who obviously all support the legalization of gay marriage or being gay in general in Russia, but it's just not the norm. But then people who go to comedy clubs never are the fucking normal people.
Yeah, like I was just in Grand Rapids, Michigan this past weekend, and it's the home of the Christian right. It's one of the most Christian places. And I saw on your tour schedule,
because I'm going there for the first time. I've never been.
That. It's but then you get there, and they're the same as any other place. You know, especially, you know, comedy clubs just draw people that are more open to different ways of thinking.
Yes.
You know, comedy by nature is challenging thought. And so if you're going to go to a comedy club and expect the status quo to be protected, your community status quo, then you're at the wrong place. And so and like you said, it only adds to the comedy. That's great fuel for making people laugh more, is to have somebody walk out. I fucking love walkouts.
It's the same thing, which is, you know, the only reason swear words are offensive and the only reason taboo subjects are taboo is because you make them powerful. Like, I would definitely say the word cunt less if it didn't piss so many people off.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy saying it, but like, it's got power. It's a powerful word, and it's not powerful because of anything I do with the word. It's powerful because of how irrational people react to it. Because since they were little, they were told it's a bad word. Same thing with any subject matter, like any taboo subject. People go, you can't talk about that. You go, no. The only reason I can't talk about this is because cunts like you say you can't talk about this. You can talk about anything. It's just the weird people that, you know, prefer to distance themselves from difficult conversations because they don't have the emotional maturity to, you know, process death or bad things.
And the rubber hits the road once you become a parent, and you have to start deciding what you shelter your child from and what you expose them to in terms of not just language but concepts and sexuality. And my policy was always like, I'm going to talk to my kids pretty close to the way I would talk to my friends. Yeah. And I found that I think my kids have much less shame about life in general, and I think that they curse in a way that isn't provocative but is kind of natural. And someday when you have kids, you'll find yourself thinking about what the parameters are of things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I'm not gonna shelter them from much, but I'm definitely gonna shelter them from people with foot fetishes. I just think it's important for them to.
What's wrong with a good foot fetish?
You know what? Look, here's the thing. I think you should absolutely be allowed to kink shame, because anyone who's got a kink, they like being shamed. That's part of the fucking thing. But there's just I've people with other fetishes. Every person with a foot fetish I know is weird. It's just like a weird. I'm like, there's something else. It's not just the foot, man. There's someone else there. Like, there's.
What do you think it is about the foot that attracts people? Is it that? Because like, I'm not a foot fetishist.
I don't know.
I'm not a foot fetishist, but I enjoy a good foot. I appreciate the aesthetic of a well-formed, in proportion foot with good grooming. A nice,
maybe a toe ring.
Maybe a toe ring would be lovely, but I'm not a fetishist, but I get where they're coming from.
I can like, in the same way that I can appreciate that a man is attractive and I'm not attracted to him, I can see a foot that's aesthetically pleasing, except that it's aesthetically pleasing. I just can't make the next leap to, God, I want to suck that or shove it in my ass, or I need to come on those toes, and I'm going to fucking privately DM every single woman that has the audacity to go online for 7 seconds. Every post she does, I'm just going to go feet question mark, feet question mark, feet question mark. They're all weird. I've never met a normal person with a foot fetish.
Is it that feet are hidden? Is it that they smell? Is it that they're dirty?
I imagine it's something to do with the. It's sweaty, it's gross, and sex is filthy, so it's like a shame thing, and like, you're so worthless that maybe you're not worthy of the vagina and the boobs. Or maybe it is because it's a weird thing and it's a creepy thing. Maybe they get off on that aspect.
Yeah. I had a friend who. I won't say his name, but you probably know him. He's a comedian. And I set him up on a date with this friend of mine, and he took her out, and he's a charming guy, and he's successful. And he takes her out on a date, and they go up to Malibu, and they go to a seafood restaurant, and they're drinking wine, and they're having a blast. And they go back to her place, and they start fooling around. And they get their clothes off, and then he picks up her foot, and he says, and she's telling me this. Yeah. And he goes, do you mind if I, lick your foot? And she's like, yeah, I guess. And thinking, this will be like, the appetizer. This is the shrimp cocktail, and then we'll get to the entree. And no, it was only the foot. And he just pleasured himself while sucking on her toes, and then he finished. And he was like, all right, I'll see you later.
But that's...
And I set up the date. I set it up.
Oh, well, first of all, you can never set him up with anyone again.
No.
Only amputees from now on. You gotta lie. I want you to see her for who she is on the inside, not for who she is down there. I want you to see the real.
An amputee. Can you imagine the disappointment on his face when he showed up?
She's got a great personality. Come on, be reasonable. Why are you such a jerk? It's 2021. Jesus. What a disgusting reaction you've had.
Feet question mark? Yeah, I've seen that so many times.
So many times, but I get so there was I don't know if she still does it, but at this very, very early on in my career, my mum just had a Google result for my name, so anytime anyone on the internet said Daniel Sloss, she was like, oh, this is what this person is saying. And when I was a new comedian, it was exciting because it means like one person on Twitter was like, I saw a comedian called Daniel Sloss last night, he was really good, and she'd go, oh, that's my son, that's great. And then any interview I did would come out, because I don't tell her when I do interviews or podcasts. It'd be a way of her just keeping up with what I was doing, because sometimes I'm a bad son and I don't stay in contact. And then one day she stopped doing it, and she was like, yeah, there's like it's not a gay porn site, but it's like a gay forum where it's just like a bunch of like gay men who have like a foot fetish, and it's like all these compilation of like celebrities' feet, and you came up and there and there's pictures of your feet, and I'm laughing at this, and I'm like, oh my god, like how many photos of my feet are there out there online? Like there can't be that many. Like how many are there? And she was like, 7. There are 7. I've seen all of them. Like it opened up a page, and they're not like me sexually sucking a toe. I don't know if that's sexy, but it's like me on holiday and my feet are just there. You know, I'm on a fucking lilo in a pool. They're just there. There's some randy man in a basement.
Now I see why you have this strong reaction to foot fetishism. Because your mother shamed you about it.
Oh, is that what you reckon? That's what it is.
Yeah, it all goes back to mommy.
It normally does.
Yeah, right. I have a feeling that tonight you are going to make love to your fiance, and the feet will be involved. Just because, like being gay in Poland, we have now talked about the taboo, and it's in your head.
Maybe, but I also make it so. I don't say it's dirty. I do just see it as weird. It's not the weirdest fetish out there. Like, you know, those, like, there's worse things. Like the people that dress up as babies.
Yeah.
Like that is just diet pedophilia for me. I'm like, you are like, you've got one hand on base. Yeah. And you're just like, I'm not a pedo, and you're like, but you're so close to being one. You're all of this is wrong. I can't explain to you. I don't have the words to explain why this is definitely not okay. But fuck, it's definitely
there's
wrong.
A video online of this guy on a New York City subway, and he's a black dude in a diaper. He's only wearing a diaper, and he's with a woman, and he's sitting in her lap. And he's sucking his thumb, and he's curled up in her lap. And you got all these other people going, motherfucker, get the fuck off this train. Like, people had a violent reaction, and the girl was yelling at another woman for saying something, and they get into a fist fight. And the guy in the diaper just sat in the seat in the fetal position, sucking his thumb, watching her get her ass beat.
Was it Daniel Day-Lewis? What commitment to the fucking role. Jesus.
I know. That's huge.
Oh, but I'm with them, man. I'm like there are some fetishes, like, let's be honest, like the foot fetish one, I find it gross. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, it probably just comes from, like, your mum didn't let you, like, whenever she wore high heels or whatever, that's when she breastfed you, blah, blah, blah. But, like, and there's other fetishes that you're into because something happened to you, and you're like, oh, I kind of like that now. Now I like wax down my back because when I was little, I like candles, whatever. Whatever happened to you to make you want to dress up like a baby needs therapy. Like, you're not, that's a deep, that is thousands of dollars. Let's get to the bottom of this. And the healthiest outlet, I assure you, is not fucking dressing up as a baby to suck on some tits and suck your thumb and shit your pants. And, oh, man, I don't care.
I don't know, the shitting the pants I could get into. I think there'd be some fun about putting on a diaper and doing the one thing that the human condition says you should not do, which is don't shit your pants. The first thing you learn is potty training. And to stand at a party with a diaper on and take a shit, I don't know. I think that I would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but would you still would that kick still be there when it's your fucking wife or your mistress or whatever poor sex worker you've paid to deal with your gross fetish? Like, is it still there when, like, she grabs your ankles, she lifts them up in the air, she takes the fucking giant bobbing pin or whatever it is out the side, and she's your grown man-ass, your grown-ass man-ass and your grown-ass man balls. She's not done
With
this in
hair
years.
on them, yeah.
Yeah, her last baby is 21 years old. It's been years. She doesn't have the grace that she used to. And also, this isn't like a fucking tight little baby cock.
No.
Like, this is your balls. Oh, gross.
Yeah. And it's not a loose little baby shit. It's like it's a log. It's a long, hard log.
Yeah. But it was mostly secure. But when she'd lay you down, it just smushed up your butt. Nah. That's when the power trip's over. It doesn't matter how good pooing standing up at a party feels. I'm pretty sure that feels. It's not worth that payoff.
But I think there's something about humiliation that attracts people, whether it's BDSM, where you're fully being, gag in the mouth, spanked or whatever. And they say that people that have a lot of power like to give up their power and be humiliated. And I guess maybe I've just never had enough power that I wanted to give it up.
Well, man, I've got a friend that works in sex work, and they were telling me that the number one client for female sex workers is like CEO men that just like come in, I'm in a bath, just piss on my face, the money's on the table, leave. Like sometimes they don't even want to have sex because it's just like I need to be treated like shit. And same on the other side, male sex workers, their number one client is female CEOs who are just because I've got all this fucking power, I've got all this stuff, and then when I get home to bed I want to be treated like shit. So maybe neither of us are powerful enough to have these fetishes yet.
That's right.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. Also, I'm married with kids, so I already get plenty of that. No, that's not me. I'm making that as a joke, but no, my wife treats me well. So I wanted to ask you also about what it's like breaking into the States, because I've seen you over here. You drew a great crowd at Largo, and I see you're doing a bunch of theaters. How hard is it because I would say you're bigger in the United Kingdom than you are in the States.
I would say that might be true, like America to Scotland, but not to England. I think I'm bigger in America than I am in England.
You are?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm probably biggest in like Australia or the rest of Europe. But like England, I don't do much British television because I hate most of it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's all owned by the same three fucking agencies, and you've just got to like it's not a meritocracy. It's,
no shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what about that Graham Norton show? That's pretty good, right?
Yes, yeah, and they were gracious enough to have me on earlier this year. But that was like my first. That was my first big bit of British television in like fucking 6 years here, I think.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's mad because, like, I mean, that's the thing, like, when I'm, like, I'm doing really well in America and the rest of the world, and then British TV just not ignores me. Like, there's some stuff, like, it's like a mutual agreement. Like, there's some stuff I just don't want to do because I think it's crap.
Yeah, right.
And I don't want to fucking play the game anymore because, like, Because I started in Scotland and I did well in Scotland, and then I started gigging in England and I had to start again. Even though I was doing 20s in Scotland, I had to start doing 5s in England. I'm like, for fuck, all right, okay, fair enough.
What's a 20 and a 5?
A 20-minute spot and a 5-minute spot.
Oh. Yeah.
So, I'm headlining gigs in Scotland, and then I go down to England, and they're making me do my 5 spots again. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I'm coming from a different area. I get it.
Yeah.
I go to Australia, the same thing happens, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start again. And then when I go to America, I'm like, motherfucker, no, I ain't start. Like, if I can headline fucking everywhere, I can headline here. Like, don't pretend, I know you're the comedy capital of the world, but it fucking translates.
Right.
So America's great. Like, I get to do theatres over there now. I mean, I've only done one proper American tour, but it was like that. It was that one where you just go, oh sweet, like it all worked out. It was after Netflix.
Well, that's the thing is like, American TV loves you. You've had 3 specials, 1 on HBO, 2 on Netflix, and then you've done Conan a billion times and a bunch of other shows. So part of it is that you have the best publicist. The best comedy publicist in the country, Michael O'Brien.
Michael O'Brien, a lovely, lovely man.
He's a lovely... He's Irish, though. Watch your ass.
Yeah, Jim Carrey's long-lost brother.
Jim Carrey's?
Yeah,
he looks like him?
He does, yeah. He's got that tall, gangly, kind...
Yeah. He just surprised me. I did a show in New Jersey, and he lives in New Jersey, and he showed up to my late show Saturday, and I didn't know he was in the audience, which is always embarrassing because, if somebody is in the audience that I know and respect, I'm going to do all new shit. I'm going to do my smartest shit. And meanwhile, I'm in New Jersey, which is like the, I don't know, the Chelsea.
Just say all of England. It's all of England.
Yeah, all of England. I think we're on the same page about England. And so I'm doing dick jokes. I'm doing old stuff. And then afterwards, he's standing there. He's like, "Hey!" I'm like, "Oh, you motherfucker!
You saw me rein it in. No, nobody I have a professional relationship should know that I regularly rein it in. This is horrible."
Right. So we went out for blueberry pie afterwards. So this tour, I'm just looking at your dates. You're going to October. I'm not going to give the exact dates. Go to Daniel Sloss, SLOSS.com. Starts in Boston, D.C., New York, Philly, St. Louis, Atlanta, Indy, PA, Albany, New Hampshire, Michigan, Cincinnati, Chicago, Madison, Minneapolis, San Diego, L.A. at the Orpheum Theater. Oh, nice. I'm going to come to that.
Please do.
San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and closing it out in New Orleans at the Fillmore. That's a cool theater. You're going to love it.
Yeah, we did New Orleans last time at the Fillmore, but like we were only there for one day, and our flight the next morning was at 7 a.m. and it was like a Friday or a Saturday night in New Orleans, and we went out. And man, I'm from Scotland. I ain't never seen anything like New Orleans in my fucking life. Yeah. Like, I mean, I've traveled the world, but I've never seen anything like that. And we were in love. It was just like motherfucker. Like, I could walk into like some guy's fucking house, buy a 3 foot long, like 2-liter thing of frozen margarita that I can just drink while walking down the street.
Right.
While just people are doing insane shit all the time. It's just one of the most, like, I love America. I give America like an air quotes hard time in my comedy, but like, man, there's so many times I've won the fucking tour. I'm like, I mean, I get it. I understand why sometimes you think you guys are the best country in the world. Like, I get it. I get where the arrogance comes from.
Yeah, a night in New Orleans will definitely make you fall deeper in love with America. They have funerals. I don't know if you know about funerals in New Orleans, but they have bands. You hire a band, and it's usually like a tuba player, a trumpet player, a guy on drums, and then depending on the size, you can hire a giant band. Yeah. And you start marching through the streets. And the funeral party marches with them, and then people join in, and they dance, and they sing, and they drink, and they party, and the parade can go on for an hour, just through the streets. Yeah,
and this is for everyone that dies.
If you choose to go that way, I mean, I'm sure not everybody does that, but like if you, and it's not just for funerals. Anybody can have a parade in New Orleans. But that's one of the reasons they do it is for funerals.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I want to go out.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Also, like if one of your kids dies, that'll cheer you up. Like there's never a good child funeral, but if you can
I know. Well, first of all, if you had a college savings account, there's that bonus that you get that money back.
Yeah.
And you use a little bit of it for the parade.
Yeah, just like 20%, and then the other one, you use on the other child that remains. That you're like, well, I guess now you're the one that goes to college.
Looks like you're going to graduate school, too.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, Daniel, it's so great seeing you again. Thanks for making the time.
It's so good speaking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and I'll see you. Hopefully, when you come to LA, I'll come see you. I won't bother you, but I'll be in the audience. Look for me.
I will.
And don't forget to check out the book comes out. It's called Everything You Hate Is Going to Die, and Other Comforting Thoughts on Family, Friends, Sex, Love, and More Things That Ruin Your Life. That's like fucking Sacha Baron Cohen's movie title.
Well, yeah, but like it's just like it's Everyone You Hate Is Going to Die, and then like the other bit is the byline, and we hide that inside the book.
Well, that comes out I don't know when.
12th of October.
All right, but pre-sale is available now, so check that out. I'm sorry we didn't talk about the book at all, but we'll do that another time.
Man, if they didn't like my chat, they're not going to like the fucking book. So there's no.
You're right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Does he write things down the way he says them? Because I'm not sure if there's a disconnect there.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I mean, I definitely, my favorite thing about writing the book was just getting the editor's notes back of just like, there are 700 uses of the word fuck in this book. There are 369 uses of the word cunt, and just like, you're like, oh my god. I mean, maybe I should tone this down at least a little bit. Like, you can get away with like maybe 40 cunts, but anything above 50 seems ooh.
Or put that on the dust jacket as an ad for the book.
Yeah, I mean, it'll stop the wrong people from buying it.
Yeah. All right, and enjoy your tour. Again, go to danielsloss.com for tickets, and have fun in the States, my friend.
Thank you very much, buddy.
All right, take care.